There are moments in life when collapse does not ask for permission. It arrives quietly. A relationship shifts. A plan dissolves. An expectation breaks without warning. You continue moving through your responsibilities, speaking to others, fulfilling obligations, but internally something feels unstable. Perhaps you have noticed this feeling, the sense that what once felt solid now feels uncertain. You try to hold things together. You think more. You analyze more. You attempt to predict what might go wrong next. And yet the more you try to stabilize the outer world, the more unstable the inner world becomes. When everything begins to fall apart, the instinct is to reach outward, to fix, to control, to repair. But the Stoics understood something few are taught. In moments of collapse, the most important skill is not control of circumstances. It is mastery of perception. You live in a time that magnifies instability. Information arrives constantly. Comparison is effortless. Expectations are endless. You measure your life against images that were never meant to represent reality. You measure your worth through outcomes that are never fully in your control. And when something fails, the mind interprets it as personal inadequacy. You may overthink conversations long after they end. You may replay mistakes repeatedly. You may imagine futures where loss becomes permanent. The modern mind is trained to react instantly, but rarely trained to observe itself. So when life shifts, the reaction feels overwhelming. Anxiety accelerates thought. Anger sharpens language. Fear narrows vision. And soon, the internal storm feels greater than the external event. The Stoics did not deny that collapse hurts. They simply refused to allow hurt to govern their character. Marcus Aurelius once governed during war and plague. He faced betrayal and uncertainty daily, yet he reminded himself that events do not disturb the mind. Judgment does. This insight appears simple, yet it requires discipline few practice. Between what happens and how you respond, there is a space. Most people collapse into reaction without seeing it. The Stoic pauses within it. When something falls apart, the first skill is this: to separate the event from the interpretation. The event may be loss, but the interpretation becomes, I am failing. This will never recover. Everything is ruined. These interpretations feel real, yet they are stories formed by fear. Mastering perception means questioning the story before believing it. Consider relationships. Someone withdraws emotionally. The mind quickly interprets rejection. But is it rejection, or simply their own internal struggle? Consider work. An opportunity disappears. The mind interprets defeat. But is it defeat or redirection? Consider social media. You see others progressing. The mind interprets comparison. But is it comparison or illusion of curated reality? The Stoics trained themselves to examine impressions, not to deny emotion, but to prevent exaggeration. The inner skill is not suppression, it is clarity. Perhaps now you recognize something uncomfortable. You may see how often your suffering has grown from interpretation rather than event. You may see how quickly you attach identity to outcome. You may notice that when something falls apart, you fear not only the loss, but what the loss says about you. This is where ego quietly enters. Ego wants stability. Ego wants control. Ego wants assurance. But life does not guarantee these. The Stoics shifted identity away from outcome. They anchored identity in character. If a project failed, character remained available. If reputation shifted, character remained available. If relationships changed, character remained available. Character cannot collapse unless you abandon it, and this realization brings quiet strength. There is something powerful in accepting what cannot be controlled. It feels at first like surrender, but it is not surrender to defeat. It is surrender to reality. When you stop resisting what has already happened, energy returns. You no longer waste strength arguing with inevitability. You begin to focus only on what belongs to you, your conduct, your response, your integrity. The Stoics understood that inner sovereignty is the only true security. Everything else is temporary. This does not create indifference. It creates steadiness. When everything falls apart, endurance becomes more valuable than comfort. Comfort seeks relief. Endurance builds resilience. You may want immediate answers, immediate clarity, immediate restoration. But some collapses are necessary. They reveal attachments that were fragile. They expose expectations that were unrealistic. They invite growth that comfort would have prevented. The Stoics practiced amor fati, to love fate, not because hardship is pleasant, but because hardship participates in becoming. When you stop asking why collapse happened and begin asking what it is shaping within you, calm emerges. There is a quiet transformation that occurs when perception changes. Instead of asking, how do I fix everything? You begin asking, how do I remain whole? Instead of fighting chaos, you observe it. Instead of reacting immediately, you breathe. This does not remove emotion. It refines it. You feel disappointment without despair. You feel fear without paralysis. You feel uncertainty without losing direction. The inner skill is this: self-command, to govern the mind before the mind governs you. Imagine facing collapse without internal collapse. Imagine receiving difficult news and responding slowly. Imagine remaining composed while others react impulsively. This composure is not coldness. It is clarity. You conserve energy. You think strategically. You choose wisely. The world may remain chaotic, but you do not multiply the chaos. You interrupt it with steadiness. Over time, something subtle changes. You stop fearing collapse as intensely because you recognize that every previous collapse shaped you. Every loss taught discernment. Every failure strengthened endurance. Every uncertainty refined patience. You begin to trust your capacity to navigate instability. And trust creates calm, not optimism, not denial, but grounded confidence. The Stoics did not promise a life free from disruption. They promised the ability to meet disruption with dignity. Calmness becomes less about controlling the storm and more about mastering the self within it. You realize that nothing external can destroy your inner stability without your participation. And this realization restores power. As we close this quiet reflection, nothing outside may have changed. Your situation may still feel uncertain, but perhaps your relationship to it feels different. Perhaps the urgency has softened. Perhaps the mind has slowed. Remember this: when everything falls apart, the one inner skill that matters most is mastery of perception. Guard it carefully, train it patiently, return to it daily. And when the next challenge arrives, as it inevitably will, ask yourself gently, will I let circumstances command my mind? Or will I master the way I see them instead? Stay with that question and carry your calm forward. There is another layer to this inner skill that reveals itself only with time. At first, you learn to observe your thoughts. You notice reactions before they fully take control. You pause. You breathe. You step slightly back from the immediacy of emotion. But eventually, something deeper begins to happen. You start to recognize that not every thought deserves your trust. The mind produces impressions constantly, some wise, some fearful, some shaped by past wounds rather than present reality. The Stoics understood that the mind speaks in suggestions, not commands. Yet most people obey every internal voice as if it were truth. When everything falls apart, the untrained mind says, "This should not be happening. I cannot handle this. Everything is ruined." These thoughts feel convincing because they arise quickly, but speed is not wisdom. The Stoic learns to slow the moment, to look at a thought as one might look at passing weather, seen, acknowledged, but not automatically believed. This is the discipline of perception, and it quietly restores freedom. You may notice how suffering intensifies. When you imagine permanence in temporary events, a setback feels endless. A painful moment feels final. Yet when you reflect honestly, much of your life has been composed of transitions. Situations once unbearable eventually became distant memories. People once central became chapters completed. The Stoics lived with constant awareness of change, not to create sadness, but perspective. They understood that everything external moves, fortune moves, reputation moves, relationships move. Even identity evolves over time. When you accept movement as natural, collapse no longer feels like destruction. It feels like transition. And transition, though uncomfortable, carries possibility. There is also a quiet relief in realizing that you do not need to solve your entire life at once. When chaos appears, the mind searches desperately for total resolution. You want certainty immediately. You want clarity instantly. But wisdom moves differently. The Stoic focuses only on the next right action, not the entire future. only the present responsibility. This simplifies existence. Instead of asking how everything will work out, you ask what dignity requires right now. Perhaps patience, perhaps honesty, perhaps restraint. One action performed well becomes the foundation for the next. Calmness grows from this simplicity. You may begin to notice that emotional storms often demand urgency. They insist that something must be done immediately. Yet many situations improve simply through time and composure. Reaction often worsens what patience would resolve. The Stoics valued delay, not avoidance, but thoughtful timing. They understood that clarity returns when emotion settles. You do not suppress feeling. You allow it to pass through without allowing it to dictate behavior. This restraint preserves self-respect, and self-respect becomes a source of inner stability. There is another truth rarely discussed. When life falls apart, identity becomes vulnerable. You may have built a sense of self around roles, achievements, or expectations. When those shift, you may feel lost, but the Stoics separated identity from circumstance. You are not your success. You are not your failure. You are the quality of your choices. Character remains accessible in every condition. Even when everything changes, you can still act with patience. You can still choose kindness. You can still remain honest. Nothing external can remove this capacity. And recognizing this restores dignity during uncertainty. Loneliness often accompanies periods of collapse. You may feel misunderstood. You may sense that others cannot fully see what you carry internally. The Stoics did not fear solitude. They used it as a place of strengthening. In solitude, you encounter yourself without distraction. You learn whether your peace depends on approval or understanding from others. And slowly you become less dependent on external validation. You become companion to your own thoughts. Self-trust begins here, and self-trust reduces fear. There comes a moment when you stop asking life to be fair, not with bitterness, but with maturity. You understand that life distributes difficulty without personal intention. Events are not punishments. They are conditions of existence. Once this understanding settles, resentment fades. You no longer waste energy asking why hardship came to you. You focus instead on how you meet it. And this shift creates calm strength. Calm not born from comfort, but from acceptance. Over time, the inner skill becomes less effortful. You notice yourself reacting less impulsively. You notice greater space between emotion and action. Situations that once overwhelmed you feel manageable, not because they became easier, but because you became steadier. You begin trusting your ability to endure uncertainty, and endurance removes fear's urgency. You realize that collapse does not erase you, it reveals you. Imagine now facing difficulty without internal panic. You listen carefully before responding. You choose words deliberately. You act according to values rather than emotion. Others may interpret your calm as unusual, but calmness is simply clarity practiced consistently. The Stoics believed that true strength is invisible. It does not dominate. It stabilizes, and slowly your presence itself becomes grounded. Let us slow down again. Notice your breath. Notice the quiet space beneath thought. Nothing has been solved, yet something feels lighter. This is the power of mastering perception. The world may remain unpredictable, but you are no longer at war with it. As you carry this reflection forward, remember gently, you do not need life to stop falling apart. You only need to remain whole while it changes. And so, before moving on, consider this quietly. If every challenge is an opportunity to strengthen your perception, how differently might you meet the next moment of uncertainty? There is a point in every period of chaos when exhaustion appears. Not physical exhaustion alone, but emotional fatigue. You may feel tired of thinking, tired of adjusting, tired of trying to understand what is happening. And in that fatigue, the mind often searches for escape. It wants certainty. It wants reassurance. It wants life to return to what felt familiar. But the Stoics noticed something quietly profound. What exhausts you is not always the difficulty itself. It is resistance to the difficulty. Resistance consumes energy. Acceptance restores it. Acceptance does not mean approval. It means acknowledging reality without internal argument. When you stop asking life to be different from what it currently is, the mind begins to rest. You conserve strength for action rather than opposition, and calmness deepens. You may have noticed how fear grows when the future becomes unclear. The mind begins constructing possibilities, What if things worsen? What if recovery never comes? What if loss becomes permanent? These questions feel protective, and yet they often multiply suffering. The Stoics practiced returning to the present moment, not as an escape, but as grounding. Right now, in this precise moment, you are capable of breathing. You are capable of choosing your next action. You are capable of maintaining character. The present moment rarely contains the catastrophe imagined by the mind, and calm grows when attention returns to what is real instead of what is feared. There is a subtle strength in lowering unnecessary expectations. Many disturbances arise not from events, but from assumptions about how life should unfold. You expect stability, you expect fairness, you expect recognition. When these expectations dissolve, disappointment follows. But the Stoic replaces expectation with preparedness. You prepare for change rather than demanding permanence. You anticipate imperfection rather than ideal outcomes. And strangely, this realism does not create pessimism. It creates peace, because nothing surprises you emotionally. You meet life as it is. There is also wisdom in learning when not to act. Modern culture praises constant action, immediate solutions, rapid responses, but the Stoics understood that restraint can be powerful. Sometimes calmness means waiting, observing, allowing clarity to emerge naturally. Impulsive action often serves emotion rather than reason. Measured action serves long-term stability. You begin to recognize that stillness itself can be an intelligent response. You may begin to see how collapse simplifies life. When everything feels secure, attention scatters across countless concerns. But when difficulty appears, priorities become clear. What truly matters remains visible. Integrity, meaningful connection, inner peace. Chaos removes distraction. It reveals essentials. And in this simplification lies unexpected clarity. You realize that much of what once troubled you was never essential. Calmness grows from focusing on what endures. The Stoics believed that adversity reveals the architecture of the soul. Pressure exposes what was already present. Impatience becomes visible. Fear becomes visible, but so does courage. So does resilience. So does wisdom waiting to mature. When everything falls apart, you meet yourself honestly. And honesty becomes the beginning of transformation. Perhaps you now sense a shift in how you view difficulty. You no longer see collapse solely as loss. You begin to see it as instruction, a teacher that speaks without words, a force that refines attention, a moment that asks, who are you when comfort disappears? The Stoic answers not through theory, but through conduct, through calm speech, through measured action, through refusal to abandon virtue under pressure. Over time, calmness stops feeling fragile. It no longer depends on favorable conditions. You carry stability internally. You move through uncertainty without losing direction. You respond thoughtfully rather than defensively. And this creates a quiet confidence. Not confidence that life will always be easy, but confidence that you can meet whatever arrives. This is inner sovereignty. Freedom rooted in self-command. You may also notice a deeper compassion emerging. When you understand your own struggle with chaos, you recognize it in others. You see fear behind anger, insecurity behind arrogance, pain behind withdrawal. Calmness softens judgment. You respond with understanding rather than reaction. And relationships change subtly. Conflict loses intensity. Presence replaces tension. Your calm becomes an environment others can rest within. Let us slow again. Notice the rhythm of this moment. Nothing urgent demands attention here. The world continues moving, yet you remain still. This stillness is not escape. It is alignment. You are no longer trying to force life into certainty. You are learning to stand steadily within uncertainty, and this is the inner skill the Stoics valued above all others. The ability to govern oneself regardless of circumstance. As we approach the end of this reflection, remember gently, life will fall apart again in different ways. Change is inevitable. Loss is inevitable. Uncertainty is inevitable. But panic is optional. You possess the capacity to meet change with clarity, to meet difficulty with dignity, to meet chaos with calm perception, and so carry this question quietly into your own life. When the next moment of collapse arrives, will you try to control the world, or will you master the way you meet it? Stay with that question, and let calm become your practice. There is one final realization that often arrives only after many storms have passed. You begin to understand that calmness is not something you achieve once. It is something you return to, again and again. Even the Stoics themselves did not imagine a life free from disturbance. Marcus Aurelius wrote reminders to himself each day because he knew the mind forgets. It drifts back toward fear, back toward impatience, back toward the desire to control what cannot be controlled. And so calmness becomes a practice of remembering what belongs to you, remembering what does not, remembering that your peace depends less on events and more on how you choose to see them. You may notice now that chaos no longer appears entirely hostile. It becomes familiar, almost expected, not welcomed with enthusiasm, but met without shock. When you expect change, you are not wounded by its arrival. When you understand impermanence, loss does not feel like betrayal. The Stoics called this living in agreement with nature. To accept that life moves in cycles, growth and decline, arrival and departure, certainty and uncertainty. You stop demanding permanence from what was never meant to remain unchanged. And with that acceptance, tension dissolves. There is also freedom in realizing that you do not need to understand everything immediately. Some chapters of life make sense only in retrospect. The mind longs for explanations during difficulty. It wants meaning now, but wisdom often unfolds slowly. The Stoics trusted time. They allowed events to reveal significance gradually. You learn to live without complete understanding. And strangely, this uncertainty becomes peaceful rather than threatening. You stop forcing answers. You allow life to speak in its own rhythm. You may begin to recognize that calmness alters how you experience success as well. When stability comes, you appreciate it without clinging. You enjoy moments without fearing their end. You participate fully while remaining inwardly free, because you understand that both comfort and chaos are temporary visitors. Neither defines you. Your character remains the constant element, and character becomes your home. There is dignity in becoming someone who does not collapse when circumstances do. Not because you are unfeeling, but because you are anchored. You feel disappointment without despair. You face uncertainty without panic. You accept change without losing direction. This is the quiet strength the Stoics admired, strength without aggression, confidence without arrogance, calm without indifference. Perhaps now you sense that the inner skill we have spoken about was never hidden. It was simply overshadowed by habit, by constant reaction, by fear of uncertainty. But beneath reaction, your mind already knows how to be still. You have felt it before, in moments of deep reflection, in silence, in acceptance. The Stoic path is not about becoming someone new. It is about returning to what is already stable within you. Imagine carrying this understanding into the next difficult moment. A conversation becomes tense. You pause. A plan changes unexpectedly. You adapt. Uncertainty appears. You remain steady. These small moments accumulate. They reshape identity quietly. You become someone who responds rather than reacts, someone who observes rather than resists, someone whose calm is not dependent on circumstances. And over time, others may notice. They may sense that chaos affects you differently. They may feel grounded simply by your presence. Without trying to teach, you embody wisdom. The Stoics believed the highest form of strength was self-command, not domination over others, not victory over circumstance, but mastery of one's own mind. Because the person who governs themselves cannot be easily shaken. External events may disturb comfort. They cannot disturb character unless permitted. And this understanding brings freedom deeper than control. As this conversation comes to its natural end, allow yourself a final moment of stillness. Nothing needs to be solved tonight. Nothing needs to be decided immediately. Simply notice the quiet awareness now present, the slowing of thought, the softening of urgency, the recognition that calmness was never waiting somewhere in the future. It was always accessible within your perception. So as you return to your life beyond this moment, remember gently, when everything falls apart, the world is not asking you to become stronger overnight. It is inviting you to see differently, to stand differently, to live deliberately. And perhaps the true mastery is not preventing collapse, but remaining whole while transformation unfolds. Let this final question remain with you, not as something to answer quickly, but something to carry. If your peace depended only on how you choose to perceive life, what would you begin seeing differently tomorrow? Stay with that question and walk forward calmly. When everything falls apart, master this one inner skill. Before we truly close, Allow yourself to remain here just a little longer. There is a certain stillness that follows understanding, not excitement, not relief in the dramatic sense, but a quiet settling, as if something within you has gently returned to its natural position. You may notice that the world has not changed. Your responsibilities still exist. Your uncertainties remain unresolved. Life continues moving as it always has, and yet your relationship to it feels different. This is the beginning of inner mastery, not control over events, but freedom from being internally ruled by them. The Stoics believed that wisdom was less about acquiring knowledge and more about removing illusion. The illusion that life should be predictable, the illusion that comfort guarantees peace, the illusion that stability comes from outside circumstances. When these illusions fade, something unexpected appears. Lightness. You stop carrying burdens that were never yours to carry. You release the need to control outcomes. You release the demand that life unfold according to personal expectation. And suddenly, much of the tension you once felt dissolves on its own. You begin to see that calmness is not an achievement. It is alignment. Alignment between your mind and reality. When the mind stops resisting what exists, energy returns, clarity returns, presence returns. You become fully available to the moment before you. And in that availability, life becomes simpler, not easier, but clearer. There will still be difficult days, moments when emotion rises quickly, moments when uncertainty feels heavy again. The Stoics never expected perfection. They expected practice. Each time you remember to pause, you strengthen awareness. Each time you choose response over reaction, you reinforce self-command. Each return to calm deepens stability. Progress is quiet, almost invisible, but over time it reshapes your entire way of being. You may eventually notice something profound. The situations that once overwhelmed you no longer hold the same power, not because you avoided difficulty, but because you learned to meet it differently. You stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and begin asking, "Who can I be within this moment?" This question changes everything. It places responsibility where it belongs, within your character. And character is always within reach. There is a dignity in becoming someone who remains steady while circumstances shift. Others may search for certainty. You cultivate resilience. Others may react impulsively. You respond thoughtfully. Others may fear change. You recognize change as part of life's rhythm. Calmness becomes your quiet advantage, not visible as achievement, but felt as inner freedom. And perhaps the deepest realization is this: nothing that happens externally can truly take away your capacity for clarity. Your perception remains yours. Your response remains yours. Your integrity remains yours, even in loss, even in uncertainty, even in chaos. This is inner sovereignty, the freedom the Stoics protected above all else. So as this conversation finally comes to rest, do not rush away from the silence. Let it accompany you. Carry this calm into ordinary moments, into conversations, into decisions, into uncertainty. Return to it when life feels heavy again and again. Because calmness is not something you reach once, it is something you remember. And now, one final reflection to leave with you. If nothing outside you could guarantee peace, what kind of inner life would you begin building today? Let the question remain unanswered. Walk forward quietly and allow calm to become your way of living. When everything falls apart, master this one inner skill. If you are still here, perhaps you were not searching for answers. Perhaps you were searching for silence, not the silence of absence, but the silence where understanding settles. There is a moment after deep reflection when the mind stops reaching outward. It no longer tries to solve everything. It simply rests. The Stoics believed this rest was not weakness, it was wisdom, because a restless mind believes peace exists somewhere else. A quiet mind recognizes peace was never absent. It was only obscured by fear, urgency, and expectation. You may notice now that nothing extraordinary has been promised to you. No guarantee that life will become easier. No assurance that hardship will disappear. And yet this absence of promises carries a strange comfort, because it means your stability does not depend on fragile conditions. It depends on something far more reliable: your ability to meet life consciously. Calmness is not given by fortune. It is practiced through awareness. Each moment offers the same invitation. React automatically, or respond deliberately. This choice, repeated quietly over time, becomes destiny. There will be days when you forget. Days when emotion moves faster than wisdom. Days when chaos feels overwhelming again. Do not interpret this as failure. Even the most disciplined minds returned repeatedly to practice. Marcus Aurelius wrote reminders, not because he was weak, but because he was human. The path of calm is not perfection, it is return. Return to awareness. Return to perception. Return to self-command. Again and again, you may begin to see life differently now. Challenges no longer appear solely as obstacles. They become opportunities to exercise inner strength. Uncertainty becomes a field where patience grows. Loss becomes a teacher of gratitude. And difficulty becomes proof that you are participating fully in existence. The Stoics did not seek comfort above all things. They sought alignment with reality. And alignment creates peace deeper than comfort ever could. Imagine carrying this understanding quietly into your life. You wake without immediate resistance to the day ahead. You move through conversations without constant defense. You encounter setbacks without internal collapse, not because you are unaffected, but because you are grounded. Your calm becomes independent, a steady presence within movement, a still center within change. One day, perhaps without noticing when it happened, you realize something profound. You no longer fear chaos as you once did. You recognize it as part of life's rhythm. You trust yourself to endure. You trust your perception to guide you, and trust replaces anxiety. Not blind optimism, but earned confidence. Confidence rooted in experience. You have faced difficulty before. You have adapted before. You have remained standing before. And you will again. The Stoics called this inner freedom. A freedom no circumstance can grant, and none can remove. It belongs only to those who master the one inner skill we have explored together, the ability to govern the mind, to choose perception carefully, to remain steady while the world moves unpredictably. So now let this conversation fade naturally. No dramatic ending, no final instruction, only a quiet awareness you carry forward. When everything falls apart, you do not need to become someone else. You only need to remember who you are when you are calm. And before you go, take this final question with you. If peace is created by the way you see life, what will you begin seeing differently from this moment on? Stay with that question. Walk slowly, and let calm accompany you wherever life leads next.